One thing we have to remember about all these books we're reading is they're about the psyche. Okay? They're not about the physical world. Right? And
That's why I liked him, because I figured that I always thought that's all there was.
right. And so and that's what all religions do. Okay? There's plenty of people that believe in magic in religions, right? They believe that Christ went up into the sky and went into heaven in the sky. Well, we now know that that didn't happen, not at all. Okay, that's I mean that's what, yeah. I mean, that's right. That's what this is about. Kingdom of heaven, God's moved on. God is within you. Okay. And it's always been there. Okay. But up until the year 1500, people, what Edinger was saying is up to the year 1500, people were believing that, you physically went up into heaven, right? And it was only when Galileo looked through his telescope and said, guys, it isn't that way. The Pope immediately understood, ran him up before the Inquisition, immediately understood that the basic idea of the church was being undermined by that. That's why Galileo was, spent the last 4 years of his life in prison, in open prison. And he had to promise never to look through a telescope. Of course, nobody realized that he couldn't look through the telescope anyway because he had blinded himself by looking at the sun.
You're saying pre-1500, the conception was that God was a real entity,
Yeah, God was
not a psychic entity, but a real entity.
right,
There somewhere.
right. And I mean, I don't know about you, but that's certainly the way I was raised. So religions are still selling that. Okay. The trouble is, it doesn't wash anymore.
It didn't wash for me as a kid.
Well, I never got it either. I'm saying, what are you saying? I remember being so confused by that, and even up until 2 or 3 years ago, when I finally read Answer to Job, I'm saying, what are these guys saying? We can look through a telescope back to the Big Bang, and we can look through an electron microscope down to a quark. Where's God? Where's heaven? I don't get it. Okay. But then Jung just says, these are all subjects of the psyche. They're not in natural science. They're not there at all.
Psyche is the Greek word for soul.
Right. Right. And then also Jordan Peterson summed it up when he said, science and religion can live side by side because science tells you what is and religion tells you how to behave, teaches you how to behave. Okay. And if you look at Proverbs, okay, it's been basically saying the same rules of behavior that human beings have followed since time immemorial. Okay, since before the written word, probably.
But part of that, how you behave is for the more simple-minded, requires a fear motivator such as the fire and hell.
Now, the fear motivator was to get the church paid. Okay.
It isn't used that way now.
Huh?
It's not used that way now.
Sure it is.
It's used as a theological, I should say, framework.
What do you mean it's a framework?
Well, it's one of the underlying principles of, say, hardcore Baptist.
It's fear.
The fear of the damnation of hell. Yeah.
Right. But
It's not to get money now, it's to get
Well,
It's
you
part
mean
of the
that
theology.
all these born again Christians on television that are raising these magnificent cathedrals around, glass cathedrals and all that shit? That's not money. Of course they're after
Well,
money.
of course they are, but I don't think it's necessarily true that those two are associated in the modern conception.
Well, I'll beg to differ with you on that.
Well, I mean, I don't equate the fear, this fear that's been being created with the gathering light.
Well,
I don't see that. I see that as a core philosophy.
it's horse and carriage, horse and carriage.
That's a reality to that.
Yeah.
That's a reality. That's like
I
what
mean,
Galileo was.
you know, how do we get manipulated forever on everything? You turn on the television and they're selling us fear. Okay, whether they're selling you a drug, okay, you're afraid of getting psoriasis, so you buy Humira, or they're selling you, you know, a cleaning product. You know, they're selling you fear of the germs that won't be killed unless you use Tide in your laundry, you know, type stuff.
Right, but when I went to a Bible study at a Baptist church one time, and first thing he did was try to save me because I was ushered off to another room, and okay, here are the basic principles. Now, do you accept blah blah blah? And I was like, well, yeah, okay. I was ambivalent, but yeah, I'll go along with you. So fine. Okay, now you go back to the group. So it didn't have anything to do with money. That was just their. They were afraid I was going to go to hell if they didn't save me right then.
Oh, come on. You're not that naive.
They are.
No, I mean that's a step, John. You get them. They get you to take that step, and
No, this is a woman who truly believed that. It was nothing to do with money. It was save John. It
They
was save.
recruited you for Scientology? Is that what you-
No, this is when I went to. Well, I used to see them in operation.
We had a brochure on the doorstep this week, just yesterday. Mormons or something. I'm sorry. Go ahead. I'm just breaking
For
into
the
the conversation.
Scientologists. For the
I don't know. I just saw something about.
White Jehovah's Witnesses.
Yeah. I didn't read it. I didn't.
well,
You know, I think there's something to what you say. I don't disagree. I just don't think that's necessarily.
I mean, look, when they're recruiting you, I mean, you didn't have a religious experience at that moment, right? They were just inquiring, right? I'm telling you, there are religious experiences.
Christianity is very atheistic. That's me. It has no feeling of soul to it at all.
Well, I mean, it's basically handrails for how you develop the psyche. Okay, I mean, handrails for. I mean, a very simple ritual thing is a funeral, right? Okay, so you go through this ritual for a funeral. It doesn't help the dead. Okay, the dead person doesn't know he's dead. He's just dead, right?
Floating around watching everyone. What's wrong with you? Don't you know
Okay,
the movies?
right. But the living people have to get over a psychological hurdle, which is the fact that they're going to have to live without this person in their life, whatever it is. Yeah, for good, for better, or for worse. And so people need a ritual to pass that, right? They're not going to necessarily have a religious experience. I mean, they might. Some people might have a religious experience in that. But that was Jung's comment about Christianity, was it became so ritualized that no one...
Oh, they were empty gestures.
Well, they're not empty gestures because they do carry you through psychological transformation. Pardon?
Not if they're empty gestures, because I think what he's saying is if it by making things rigid and it doesn't adapt to the culture, then they do become empty vessels. You
Yeah.
don't serve any use anymore, and they need to be adapted continuously.
Right.
And it's like, the psychology of Jung's day is not the psychology of today, because there's just the focus is so much broader. There's so many different things.
Well, precisely. And Jung would be the first to say that we still know nothing, right? Because the psychology of today has mainly gone toward drugs and quick fixes, and Jung was talking about something different. He was talking about a different level.
Talking about soul,
He was at a different level of consciousness, which is the next paragraph, but we'll talk about it next week.
I sometimes wonder if he didn't really move out of therapy and more towards, just understanding the soul.
Well, he did.
Yeah.
Oh, I definitely.
Well, apparently pretty early too.
Oh, yeah.
With the red book.
Yeah.
Well, I think he had to come to terms with what was going on with him. Yeah.
But the point is that these things have layers upon layers upon layers upon layers. And what we're trying... Pardon?
Just like nature,
Right.
trying to discover a scientific principle or truth is just uncovering I thought this a long time ago. It's just one layer after another. You never really get there.
That's the psyche.
That's
Psyche
right.
is one layer.
Right. Jordan Peterson makes this great comment that people are walking around staring at their iPhone and saying, "I don't believe in science."
Yeah.
Right. How many layers are there
They're
in?
using their GPS going, I don't believe in
Right,
science.
and I used to be amazed because I was in
Are you
the
talking about the fundamentals? Or,
anybody.
Shaker.
Okay.
Yeah, they don't use it.
Anybody that's a climate change denier, okay, let's
They
say,
drive their tractor across the
right?
fields.
They're still, they're still using an iPhone, right? And that's based on so many layers of science. I mean, I used to do it in the auto industry, where I was amazed because I was trying to figure out, how many human beings and factories does it take to build a single automobile? Okay. I mean, I don't even know in an automobile, but I know in a copying machine, there are something like 3,000 parts, individual parts. Now, each one of those parts has to be in some way manufactured, okay? And so it has to have a factory and people that do it and people who know how to make that part, whatever it is, and an automobile. So there's so many layers in anything we use, and everything that we have, even this wine glass, okay, has layers to it.